Welcome to Star Spangled Awesomeness, where we dive headfirst into the chaos left by the Biden administration, now being masterfully untangled by Donald Trump. I'm your host, an ordinary American who's seen through the smoke and mirrors of mainstream media to grasp the raw, unfiltered truth. Join us as we celebrate this new golden era, shining a light on the corruption and injustices that the media loves to sweep under the rug. Here, we'll showcase the vibrant resurgence of America, reclaiming its former glory. Thank you for tuning in to witness the spectacular comeback of the greatest nation on Earth. Let's waste no more time and get into it.
This administration is wholeheartedly focused every single day on driving down costs for the American people through massive deregulatory efforts and, of course, by unleashing American energy dominance, which we know will end the inflation nightmare created by the previous administration. And this CPI report today is welcome news, and it's not what the so-called experts or the mainstream media predicted. They continue to cast doubt on President Trump and his economic agenda, even though he has a proven record of it working in his first term. And if you look at that report today, inflation has gone down. The core inflation index is actually the lowest it's been in 4 years. Gas prices have fallen. Airline fares have fallen. And also today, we saw two massive companies announce new investments in manufacturing in the United States of America. The Japanese beer company Asahi announced new manufacturing, new jobs in Wisconsin. All of these companies are realizing that the United States of America is the best place to do business, the lowest taxes in the world. That's what they will have under this president.
The future is looking so bright, guys. 52 days in, and much progress is being made. We're getting our economy back on track, and the left, as well as all of Europe, are mad. What's bugging them today? Let me introduce you to Tobias Ellwood. He is an American-born former British Conservative Party politician and soldier who served as the Member of Parliament for Bournemouth East from 2005 to 2024. He chaired the Defense Select Committee from 2020 to 2023 and was Minister of Defense, Veterans, Reserves, and Personnel at the Ministry of Defense from 2017 to 2019. He also ranked of lieutenant colonel in the 77th Brigade. So currently, this guy has moved out of government office and into the private sector, advising government entities, particularly around defense. Now, I can't tell you and confirm if he's had his security revoked, nor can I say if he has access to U.S. intelligence here in the United States since he has dual citizenship. But what I can say is that he's definitely not a Trump supporter. So even though Tobias was born an American, he certainly doesn't demonstrate any of the American spirit. And what we see from him today is this opinion piece that he wrote for the Independent UK. And I want to go through it because it just goes to show you what the Europeans think and feel about what America is doing right now with the new Trump administration. His opinion piece is titled, "A Spectra is Haunting America, the Spectra of Trumpism." He begins, "As we search for clues about America's future, Piers Morgan and other Trump allies insist judge Trump by his actions, not his words. But we've now witnessed more than enough action to understand what it all means. The pieces of the Trump puzzle are clear enough to reveal the bigger picture, one so shocking and consequential that few dare to speak out. If we stitch together Trump's actions, the narrative he is spinning, and the demands he is now making, a troubling vision emerges. Gone is any sense of national duty to uphold or repair the crumbling global order that America and Britain once helped to build. Okay, so let's pause for a second. The United States really has to reset itself because not only are we $36 trillion in debt, but we need to fix some things here at home first before we can tend to other countries and take care of them. This is the issue with the UK and Europe, and what the whole world doesn't seem to understand is that we need to fix ourselves first before we can help anybody else. And this idea that we are a part of this one world global order, yes, it started out that way to prevent another world war from happening, but that's as far as it should have gone. Now we're so in bed with one another that, now the United States is being walked all over. And the fact that we want to put ourselves first instead of taking care of the rest of the world and leaving us last should not be looked down upon. Gone is any loyalty to traditional allies and alliances. The paralysis of institutions such as the UN Security Council and the World Trade Organization is accelerating the collapse of globalization. Trump sees the dawn of a new era where nations fend for themselves. In this vision, the old international order is cast aside. The Bretton Woods system is viewed as outdated baggage, and power is redistributed through regional spheres of influence. A world of Hobbesian chaos, a jungle, if you like, where a few dominant beasts rule their territories with brute strength. Under this logic, Canada, Greenland, and Panama fall under America's domain. Ukraine, on the other hand, is left to Russia. Meanwhile, Europe, Canada, and Mexico are now seen as economic competitors. If trade deals cannot be struck on terms that overwhelmingly favor America, then expect tariffs. Do you see what this little man-child is doing right now? He's making it sound like the United States is this big bad bully who's trying to get one over on them, when in actuality, it's the opposite. It's really the EU and the UK who are walking all over the United States. We have not been treated very well by our allies over the past decade. And I think it's fine for Donald Trump to put his foot down and stand up for America versus bending the knee to these fascist bureaucrats that are pushing for more and more and more.
If you look at Europe, take a look at the EU. We're not allowed to sell cars there. It's prohibitive because of their policies and also their non-monetary tariffs. They put obstacles in your way that you can do nothing about. But if you take a look at what happens, so we sell no cars to Europe, virtually no cars, and they sell millions of cars to us. They don't take our agriculture, we take their agriculture. It's like a one-way street with them. The European Union is very, very nasty. They sue our companies. Apple was forced to pay $16 billion on a case that, very much like my cases that I won. They shouldn't have been even cases, but we felt they had no case, and they ended up having an extremely favorable judge and decision. But they're suing Google, they're suing Facebook, they're suing all of these companies, and they're taking billions of dollars out of American companies, many more than the ones I just mentioned. And I guess they're using it to run Europe or something. I don't know what they're using it for, but they treat us very badly. China obviously treats us very badly. Almost everybody does, and I blame past presidents, to be honest, because when I was president, we received so far about $700 billion from China over the years on the tariffs that I put in. No other president got 10 cents from China.
To make this new global disorder function, Putin must be rehabilitated and Russia must be reintegrated into the international fold. Sanctions must be lifted and deals must be made. This is why no senior Trump official will explicitly acknowledge that Russia started the war. This is why America voted with Russia against Ukraine at the UN. This is why the U.S. has cut critical military aid to Ukraine. Now, we all know that this is not true. The actual war started in 2014 in the Donbass with the United States backing to foster this regime change. So for them to continue on and say that it's Russia, well, no, Russia didn't start this. Maybe in 2022, but this all kicked off in 2014. So this guy, trying to manipulate the masses with this propaganda because he is a warmonger. He wants this to continue. Trumpism is a blend of economic nationalism and ruthless protectionism pursued through confrontation, whether with allies or adversaries. It is rooted in the belief that self-interest reigns supreme and that America can act with impunity, assuming that few will resist and that the country will grow wealthier, stronger, and more resilient as a result. But it won't. One can only wonder what Ronald Reagan would think of America's trajectory today. You see, this is the problem and arrogance with Europe. They don't understand that we are perfectly fine of being self-sufficient here in the United States. With 330 million people in this great land, we have talent. So we'll bring our jobs back, we'll bring our factories back, and we'll make our own stuff. And then also, let's not forget how many times the United States steps up to give aid to countries when they're suffering humanitarian crises or they're going through catastrophes. How many times does the United States step up to help? Every single time we do. But when the United States is faced with these types of crises like hurricanes, fires, tornadoes, earthquakes, are any of these countries running to give aid to us? I mean, to be fair, Canada, when the fires were going on in California, Trudeau sent over a couple planes to help put out some of it, but we helped Canada with their military. So, for them to make it sound like, oh, that we're not going to grow to be wealthier, stronger, more resilient. No, we will, especially if we don't have to worry about the rest of everybody else. We will be richer. We will be prosperous. We will thrive because we'll have all this extra cash to help actual Americans. When you think about it, we give billions of dollars or gave billions of dollars to the UN as well as the World Health Organization. And whenever we're faced with any type of humanitarian disaster like this migrant crisis that we had these past 4 years, did the UN step up and help any American? No, they didn't. And the crazy thing about that whole entire setup was that it was our taxpayer money that was being used to invade our own country. So why should we be so open and generous with everybody when our generosity was used to hurt us? America is going to be fine because we trust our leader. It's only been 52 days, and Trump has done more than Biden did in the past 4 years. So I'm feeling pretty good right now.
President, on tariffs, you made clear you're not backing down from this, but many American small business owners say they are concerned that these tariffs are going to hurt them. What's your message to them?
They're going to be so much richer than they are right now. And we have many. Yesterday, General Motors was in. They want to invest $60 billion. The people from Facebook were in yesterday. They're going to invest $60 billion by the end of the year. Other people are talking about numbers. Apple, as you know, a few days ago announced $500 billion investment. They're going to build their plants in the United States, which, as you know, almost all of their plants are in China. Now they're building in the United States. Look, the reason is two things. Number one, the election, November 5th. And the other thing is tariffs. I think probably in that order. But Tim Cook came in and he announced 500, think of it, 500 billion, not million. 500 million's a lot when you think about it, right? But, well, I would have been happy with 500 million, but it's $500 billion investment by Apple in the United States. And that's because of the election result, and it's because of the tariffs and the tax incentives too, tariffs and tax incentives. And I've never seen anything like it. We have plants going up now in Indiana. We have plants going up in Michigan. A lot of plants going to be planned from. I'm trying to steer them to Michigan because Michigan got so badly beaten by.
This is not the American way. While historically inclined toward isolationism, the U.S. has long balanced this tendency with a commitment to global security and free trade, pillars that have upheld one of the longest periods of peace and prosperity in modern history. To abandon these commitments now is reckless. For Britain and Europe, the geopolitical impact is profound. As the Prime Minister stated in Parliament this week, we have entered a new era of insecurity. Europe's entire defense posture now requires urgent rethinking. Britain and Europe have this expectation that it's the American taxpayer who is responsible for their own defense posture and security. Honestly, if you are in Britain and Europe and understand that your security is now being jeopardized because the United States doesn't want to fund it anymore, then you got to ask yourself this question: why are you working and paying taxes? Because where is that tax money going, if not going to protect the community? We must prepare for an America that is pulling back militarily from Europe and unthinkably aligning itself more closely with Russian interests than with European ones. Trump claims to seek peace, but it is peace on Russia's terms. We must not be under any illusions. Any such deal would merely give Russia time to rebuild its war machine, only to pursue an even wider conflict down the road, this time without the threat of U.S.-led NATO intervention holding it back. In other words, they want the war to continue to keep on going so the money doesn't stop. They don't care about peace with Russia. In fact, they're going to continue regardless, even if Russia is coming to the table honestly and wants to maintain peace, if negotiations work out. You see, these people who are at the head of NATO and the UN and EU and the UK are all a part of the World Economic Forum. They have an agenda that they are carrying out, of which they don't care how many people die in this war because part of their plan is trying to depopulate this earth. So, people dying every single day is not bothering them for a second, as long as it's not their family. They don't care to put out your sons and daughters to die for this stupid proxy war, as long as the money continues to keep on flowing. Donald Trump, as well as America, does not want our money to be contributed to this bloodshed. We don't want that.
And we have to get this war over with, and you'll be back to a much more normal life. And maybe we're close. We're getting words that things are going okay in Russia, and it doesn't mean anything until we hear what the final outcome is. But they have very serious discussions going on right now with President Putin and others, and hopefully they all want to end this nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's a horrible thing when you look. I get pictures every week. They give me the pictures of the battlefield, which I almost don't want to see. It's so horrible to see young people laying arms and legs and heads laying all over the field. It's the most terrible thing that you'll ever see. And it's got to stop. These are young people with mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and friends. And it's got to stop. So we hopefully are going to be in a good position sometime today to have a good idea. We know where we are with Ukraine, and we are getting good signals outside of Russia as to where we are with Russia. And hopefully they'll do the right thing. It's really humanity. We're talking about humanity. We're not talking about the money. But then you add the money to it, and hundreds of billions of dollars is being spent and really wasted so unnecessarily. It should have never happened.
More broadly, the world is already splintering into two camps: the West versus China, backed by a growing number of authoritarian states that openly reject the fragile global order we have long taken for granted. If Europe and America are not aligned as China challenges the U.S. for technological, economic, and military dominance, then it is difficult to rule out the possibility of a world once again at war. We are witnessing a turning point in history. The longer we remain in denial about this dangerous political experiment taking place in America, the less time we will have to respond. Let's have the courage to do what's right and stand firm in defending our freedoms and values, even if it means standing up to President Trump. I'm sorry, but Tobias really has no place to be speaking about freedoms and values, especially when freedoms and values are being restricted more and more every day within the EU and the UK. Why should the United States support countries that are no longer practicing democratic principles and values, especially in the United Kingdom, where free speech can get you locked up? In addition, look at what's going on in Romania, where they want to have elections and they want to have a gentleman by the name of Calin Georgescu on the ballot, but it was pushed down because of the pressure that came from NATO. Why should we want to be involved with people who are legitimately taking away freedoms from everyday citizens that they're supposed to be serving? This is a guy that Europe is deathly afraid of because he knows all their dirty little secrets, especially when it comes to the whole child trafficking operation and what they are doing with children in Europe.
The problem is that the UN agenda is the same with Davos agenda. This, in fact, is my main topic for our conversation today. For this reason, this the world oligarchic system, they have the power on Europe because they control all the people like Bundeskanzler or president or prime minister or whatever there are. So for this reason, sorry to interrupt you, the situation with Donald Trump was a big shock.
They didn't expect that to happen. That was an accident, I suppose.
Absolutely an accident.
Not part of their game plan.
It was the first time of the oligarchy system was happened an accident. Because normally it have to be Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And the process which we are dealing now with this pandemic and all these liars was supposed to be in 2016.
They were pushed into
exactly,
early
in
start.
a sense to be in 2020 to be a disaster regarding food and water.
I see.
Which normally they want to arrive in 2025 now.
I see.
So the plan was a little bit changed, and for this reason, of course they will not succeed. This is clear. I mean, the system is almost down. It's but of course there are the last moments, and we have to have the courage now, all of us, to say no, in a sense that UN could be a fantastic, can have a fantastic role, but is not, because it's totally under control of the oligarchs. The problem is that these oligarchs, all of them, are related with the system of the pedophilia one, because we know that there are more than 8 million children per year which they disappear. 8 million does mean the entire population of Austria. They disappear without any information, simply like that. And this is the transhumanism. So this criminal act is...
And when you look at this guy that Trump met with today, the head of NATO, who was the former prime minister of the Netherlands, he also, too, is one of these sick, evil psychopaths.
And history, he won it. So he knows all kinds of stuff about political careers, about handling political careers. And that's then he joined the GOVD. That's the youth party of the VVD, the party which he became party leader of and prime minister of the Netherlands. But his talking points at that time started with, for example, really controversial stuff. So be shocked, be my guest. He started for advocating sex with minors starting at 14. Afterwards, so that's I think it's shocking because that's I guess still what he believes in. He's never been married, never had a relationship, at least not openly. So we don't know what his sexual preference are for. But afterwards, the same GOVD, when Mark Rutte left, he went to Unilever. But afterwards, the GOVD started for advocating for bestiality. So that's a kind of mindset that you need to keep in mind if we're talking about the Secretary General nowadays of the NATO, Mark Rutte.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I am just absolutely shocked at hearing that. I just can't believe it. I mean, I know that he's deeply unpopular in the Netherlands. I mean, he did a lot of damage to the farmers, to the Dutch farmers, the expropriation of the farms. He's a WEF puppet. He's a thoroughly unpleasant guy. And now he's Secretary General of NATO. And that's really, really bad news because it doesn't look, I mean, his rhetoric, Jasper, has been one for war, continued war.
Democracy and freedom is truly under threat with these psychopaths in charge over in the EU. They really do mean it when they say, you will owe nothing and be happy. Those principles do not align with American democratic practices of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, period. And this is what Europe doesn't fully understand yet, is that we, the people, are the one who gets to say what happens with our money. And what we're watching happen in the United Kingdom and in Europe, we don't like and we want no part of. So if they want to continue to go down this fascist state and enslave their people, go ahead and do it, but you will not have any support from the United States. And I am really happy that we have a strong leader who will not be walked over, who knows and believes in this country and what we can do, because we've done it before and we'll do it again. We always come back. And that's the American spirit. So Tobias Ellwood, please go ahead and relinquish your American citizenship if you can't get on board with the America First agenda, because we're back, whether you like it or not. And it feels so good. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts below. And there you have it, folks. Until next time.
I think you're Star Spangled